The rain doesn't fall from the sky. It remembers. It returns. My name is Nkiru Agu, and I used to believe in facts. Clean, measurable truths that could be typed into headlines and sold with morning coffee. That was before Enugu taught me that some stories write themselves in blood. It started on a Tuesday that felt like any other Tuesday. The kind where the heat sits on your skin like an unwelcome relative, and the air tastes of diesel fumes and yesterday's rain. I was walking down Ogi Road, heading to the newspaper office, when the first drop hit my shoulder. Red, thick as palm oil, warm as tears. I looked up. The sky was the color of old bones, pregnant with something that wasn't quite weather. More drops fell. Crimson spatters on the concrete, on car windshields, on the yellow Danfo buses that never seemed to stop moving through this city. The woman beside me, I remember her perfectly, which is important now, held out her palm to catch the falling red. She was young, maybe 25, wearing a blue head wrap with tiny cowrie shells sewn along the edges. Her name was Chika. She sold plantains at the motor park, always with a smile that made you buy more than you needed. "Rain," she said and laughed, "in this heat." But this wasn't rain. Rain doesn't stain your fingers like rust. Rain doesn't smell like copper pennies and old prayers. Rain doesn't make the air hum with something that feels like watching eyes. I pulled out my phone to record. Every journalist knows, if something's strange, capture it first, understand it later. The red drops kept falling, gentle at first, then steady, then insistent. People stopped walking. Cars slowed. The usual chaos of Enugu's afternoon traffic became something else. A collective pause, as if the entire city was holding its breath. Chika was still laughing, spinning with her arms outstretched, letting the red rain coat her blue fabric. Other people weren't so delighted. An old man near the bus stop pulled his agbada tighter around his shoulders and muttered prayers under his breath. A mother grabbed her child's hand and hurried toward the nearest shelter. But I kept watching Chika. Something about her spinning, her joy, felt important, like a moment that should be preserved. The rain fell harder, not violent, but purposeful. It pooled in the gutters, turning the usual mix of dust and discarded pure water sachets into something that looked like spilled wine. The smell grew stronger, that metallic scent that makes your mouth water in the wrong way. I was still filming when it happened. Chika's laughter stopped mid-spin. She looked down at her hands, now stained deep red, and her expression changed. Not fear, exactly. Recognition. Like she'd just remembered something she'd been trying to forget. "I know this rain," she whispered, though I was 20 feet away and shouldn't have been able to hear her over the traffic. Then she wasn't there anymore. Not vanished in a flash of light or a puff of smoke. Nothing dramatic. 1 second she was standing there with her red-stained hands and her cowrie shell head wrap, and the next second there was just empty space where she had been. Her footprints remained in the red puddles, but Chika was gone. I blinked, looked around. The old man was still praying. The mother was still hurrying her child to safety. Traffic was still moving at its usual crawl. But no one seemed to notice that a woman had just disappeared from the middle of the sidewalk. I looked at my phone screen. The video was still recording, showing the falling red rain, the people, the street. But where Chika should have been, there was just empty pavement, as if she had never existed at all. "Excuse me," I called out to the old man. "Did you see the woman who was here, the one selling plantains?" He looked at me with the kind of patience reserved for crazy people and foreigners. "What woman, my sister? There's no one selling anything here." I showed him the video. Red rain, people, cars, empty sidewalk. No chica, no blue head wrap, no cowrie shells, no spinning, laughing woman who had been real enough to cast a shadow just moments before. The rain stopped as suddenly as it had begun. The red puddles remained, but already they looked different, darker, like old blood mixed with motor oil. People began moving again, stepping carefully around the strange puddles, but otherwise continuing their lives, as if crimson rain was just another Tuesday inconvenience in a city full of them. I stood there with my phone, staring at footage that proved nothing and everything. Chica was gone, not just absent, erased. And somehow, impossibly, I was the only one who remembered her. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about her laugh, her head wrap, the way she'd said, "I know this rain," like it was an old friend returning after a long absence. I searched online for any mention of red rain in Enugu in Nigeria, anywhere. Climate change, dust storms, algae blooms. The internet offered explanations for everything except the part where people disappear and nobody remembers them. I called my editor. "Joseph, I need to run a story about something that happened today." The rain? Already covered it. Freak weather event, probably dust from the Sahara mixing with moisture. Nothing to worry about. Did anyone report anyone missing? Missing? Why would they? It was just weird colored rain and Nkiru. Happens sometimes. But I knew better. Somewhere in this city, there should have been people wondering where Chica was. A family wondering why she hadn't come home. Friends wondering why her plantain stand was empty. Instead, there was nothing. No missing person report, no concerned relatives, no empty space in anyone's life. It was as if Chica had never existed, as if the rain had washed her not just from the street, but from memory itself. I made a decision that night. If I was the only one who remembered her, then I would be the one to record what really happened. Every detail, every disappearance, every moment when this city forgot one of its own. Because the rain would come again. I could feel it in the air, in the way shadows seemed deeper and sounds seemed muffled, in the way certain streets now felt like they were holding secrets. The rain doesn't fall from the sky, it remembers, it returns. And next time I'll be ready. But I wasn't prepared for what I found when I went back to Ogi Road the next morning. The red stains were gone. Not washed away, erased. The concrete looked newer somehow, as if it had been scrubbed clean by something more thorough than water and soap. Even the potholes where the crimson puddles had collected seemed different, filled with fresh asphalt that gleamed like it had been poured yesterday. I asked the newspaper vendor on the corner about the rain. He looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language. "Red rain? Sister, you sure you feeling all right? Yesterday was clear sky all day, hot like fire but no rain." I showed him my phone. The video was still there, but something was wrong. The timestamp said Tuesday, 3:47 p.m., but the footage showed ordinary afternoon traffic under a bright sun. No red drops, no strange atmosphere, no empty space where Chica should have been, because there was no indication anyone had ever been there at all. I stared at the screen until my eyes watered. Either I was losing my mind, or something in this city was rewriting reality itself. That evening, I decided to visit the motor park where Chica had sold plantains. If she had existed, someone there would remember her. Family, friends, regular customers, someone had to know her name. The motor park hummed with its usual chaos. Drivers shouting destinations, passengers haggling over fares, vendors weaving between vehicles, selling everything from boiled groundnuts to phone cards. I approached an older woman selling oranges near where I remembered Chica's spot being. "I'm looking for someone," I said. "A young woman who sells plantains here. Blue head wrap with cowrie shells? The woman studied me with sharp eyes. Plantains? Nobody sells plantains in this section, my sister. Try the other side, near the Onitsha buses. I tried the other side. Then every section of the motor park. 3 hours of asking, describing, explaining. Nobody sold plantains. Nobody knew anyone who sold plantains. Nobody recognized my description of a young woman with a cowrie shell head wrap and a laugh that made you buy more than you needed. But here's what made my skin crawl. Twice, people started to answer differently. An old driver began to nod when I mentioned the blue head wrap, his eyes lighting up with recognition. Then he stopped mid-nod, blinked hard, and shook his head. A teenage boy selling pure water heard my description and opened his mouth to speak. I saw the word forming on his lips, a name, maybe, or a memory trying to surface. Then his expression went blank, like someone had switched off a light behind his eyes. Sorry, Auntie, can't help you. Each time, it was the same. A flicker of recognition, then sudden, complete amnesia. As if something was actively scrubbing Chika's existence from their minds the moment they tried to remember her. I went home that night and wrote everything down. Every detail I could remember about Chika. Her age, her clothes, her laugh, the way she spun in the rain. I wrote it by hand, in a notebook I kept hidden in my bedroom. Something told me digital records might not be safe. Then I did something that felt crazy but necessary. I wrote my own name at the bottom of the page, Nkiru Agu, just in case. Sleep didn't come easily. When it finally did, I dreamed of red rain falling upward, of empty spaces shaped like people, of a city that forgot its own children. In the dream, I was standing in the motor park, calling Chika's name, but my voice made no sound. The vendors walked past me like I was invisible, and when I looked down at my hands, they were starting to fade. I woke up gasping, my sheets soaked with sweat that smelled faintly of copper. The notebook was still there. My handwriting, my words, my signature at the bottom. But when I read the description of Chika, some of the details seemed fuzzy. Had her head wrap been blue or green? Was she 25 or older? The more I tried to focus on her face, the more it seemed to slip away, like trying to hold water in cupped palms. I understood then that I was fighting something bigger than a mystery. I was fighting erasure itself. Whatever force was behind the red rain wasn't just taking people, it was taking the very memory of them, slowly, methodically, until even those who witnessed their disappearance would forget they had ever existed. But I am a journalist. I document truth for a living. If this city was going to forget its missing children, then I would become its memory. I would write down everything, preserve every detail, fight against the forgetting with the only weapon I had: words. Because somewhere in Enugu, there were people who should be missed. Families that should be incomplete. Lives that should matter enough to be remembered. And if I was the only one who could still see the empty spaces they left behind, then I would bear witness to every single one. The rain doesn't fall from the sky. It remembers, it returns. And when it does, I'll be here, pen in hand, ready to catch the names of the forgotten before they disappear forever.